Namaste World. And once again from the Ministry of Tourism in New Delhi, India, we are bringing to you a very, very different webinar today. Viewers, this is our 39th webinar as part of the Dekho Apna Desh series. And we've been bringing you the splendor of incredible India in various ways. We've taken you to physical places, rivers, mountains, the desert, the snow-clad Himalayas, the forest, the tiger, and so much else. And we've shown you the traditions of making Chennapatna toys from Mysuru. We've shown you the festivals of India. We've shown you how the Aarti happens on the ghats in Varanasi. And so we've gone north, south, east, west, central India. We've done all that. Now, a lot of questions have been coming to us that in the times of the pandemic, are we only going to keep seeing all these things in a virtual space? Or are we actually going to be able to step out? Well, surely we are going to step out. And not only am I saying it out of my own optimism, I am an optimist, but I'm also saying this because one, humanity has always found ways of dealing with adversity, whether it is man-made or whether it is a natural disaster, we've always come on top of it. Second, in this juncture, as we've been confronted with this pandemic of the COVID-19, doctors, frontline workers, researchers, everyone's been working to understand what is this corona? Why has it brought the world to a standstill? And battling all this through science, through rationale, is therefore a crucial part of our journey as humanity to beat COVID and to go back and experience life the way it is meant to be. Virtual space, when we talk to you the way we do right now, is a substitute, and it's a good substitute because at least there's a dialogue, there's a communication, but there's nothing like actually going and standing and having pani puri on the corner bhaiya's shop, or eating a misal pav somewhere in Mumbai, or going and eating a garam garam idli in down south. And so I think there are so many things to be done and to actually go and just feel the breeze in Uttarakhand. So no substitute for actually stepping out. We are going to prepare you today on how to do that. And doing that with us today, a panel of 3 specialists. We have Dr. Sanjeev Singh. He's talking to us from Kochi. His educational background is of being a pediatrician. He's a master's in hospital control. He's a PhD in infection control. And he also is the chief medical superintendent of the Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences. So he has a huge background, and therefore they would be doing a presentation. And after that, we encourage all of you to ask those questions. If there are some myths forming, if there is something, a misconception, or it could actually be a right conception, how to deal with it. After Dr. Sanjeev, I'm introducing to you Dr. Sandeep Bhalla. He's the Director Training at the Public Health Foundation of India. And he's also dealing with the entire gamut of capacity building. And the Public Health Foundation of India was a Government of India initiative, and they work extensively in the area of public health. So you can imagine that 2 specialists with so much experience behind them, and not the youngest and last but not the least is a young panelist with them today, Dr. Paridhi Modi. And Paridhi is a program officer in the Public Health Foundation of India, the foundation which is bringing us this webinar today. And she's done her master's in public health from Sydney. And the reason why we have her as a co-panelist, apart from the fact that she is a public health specialist, is to remind our viewers that in India, we are very, very sensitive to the specific needs of our women travelers also. And Paridhi will therefore be focusing on overall public health, but also from the dimensions of the needs of the women travelers in India. So I'm going to kickstart the web stage today with Dr. Sandeep Bhalla starting the proceedings. And viewers, keep noting down your questions. We'll be very happy to ask the 3 specialists any areas of concern that you guys may have. So Dr. Sandeep, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. First of all, big thanks to the Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Meenakshi Sharma, DG Tourism, Ms. Rupinder Barar, ADG Tourism, Ms. Meenakshi Mehta, Joint DG Ministry of Tourism, and all other colleagues representing the Ministry of Tourism for giving this opportunity to Public Health Foundation of India. for the 39th webinar series as highlighted by Madam, Apna Desh series, which we are organizing it. And Namaste India and Namaste, this is the Corona Namaste also. So Namaste to everybody. So before we should start this particular webinar series, the purpose of this webinar series is to appraise you regarding the real facts and not to make you create any panic or fear into your mind, because these things, type of pandemics comes, pandemics goes. So these things come and goes, but only thing is, but we have to scientifically deal with such type of situations. The COVID-19 pandemic, no doubt, has created an unprecedented disruption from the global health and development of the community. The short-term implications of this global challenge are evident everywhere, but the long-term consequences of the pandemic shows that it will reshape the health and the development institutions, occupations. Priorities are going to be different, and skill and difficult, and it is sometimes very difficult to imagine how the things are moving in different sectors. Given the seriousness due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, the government of India has already imposed multiple lockdowns, and now you have started knowing about the unlockdown facilities have already started in the country. So this is a positive sign that unlockdown has come over, because we want to restart our economy. We want to come back to our own system. So already the government has given the positive push to start the unlockdown, and now the unlockdown second is going to start. As per WHO, the global scenario is that 94 lakhs patients have already been suffered. Confirmed cases are there with around 4,84,000 mortality. If you see in India, number of cases are increasing, no doubt. But India, currently we have around more than 5,09,377 cases with 15,681 deaths. If you see how the cases in India has started, and cases from the India started from Kerala, and today the Kerala is leading the example. It is not only in tourism, but it is in the COVID-19 scenario also. Kerala is leading the example how they have curtailed the spread of this COVID-19 pandemic in their particular state. So there are so many positive impacts various states have created. They have created various models. And today the time is there to learn about these things and to come out from our fears also. And the aim of the today's webinar, which we have kept, is unlocking travel and tourism safety, responsibility during COVID-19. A healthier perspective is to provide the credible information on the COVID-19 pandemic and opportunity to interact with the better understanding of this situation. So today we are trying our level best to update you that the unlocking facilities have already been done and the tourism processes have already started. You have already seen that the government of India has already started the railway line, the trains have already started, some air flights have also been started, and very soon international flights by 15th of July, people are thinking it over. The government of India is planning to do that. So the process is in the positive mode, and without taking undue time, I think I should hand it over today to the main person who is our leading faculty for this particular series, and he's none other than but Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh. Dr. Singh is representing Chief Medical Superintendent of Amrita Hospital at Kochi, and he is the one who is leading our various webinar series and going to appraise you about the today's series also. Over to Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh, sir. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep. Thank you for that introduction. I'll get started. So thank you, Dr. Sandeep, and thank you, Madam Barar, for that kind introduction and giving us the opportunity to be with you all. And as you rightly said, it is superb to see that you have already conducted 39 webinars just to project how India is and to encourage people. And that is why I have also said, labeled it as be careful, but we need to start. And it is so good to see that you have been having people travel from temples to mountains to various landscapes, and also from Vada Pav to Pani Puri and things like that. So that's very encouraging to learn, and thank you very much for doing fantastic work for Incredible India. So there are three main questions which are asked these days, and I will read out. When will the pandemic get over? Second question is, am I audible? And third is, are my slides visible to all? So I'll ask the same question, am I audible and are my slides visible to all?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic, fantastic. So that is how the webinitis have taken us, and webinars and virtual meetings have been one of our new normals with the COVID. So our agenda is to cover tourism with some bit of hotels and restaurants, or complete hospitality industry. So I would like to dedicate my talk to close to 17,042 healthcare workers who are no longer with us. And these were fantastic, superb clinicians, superb nursing staff, and similar thing is there in India. So we have lost close to 70 people. But what happened to them, what exactly led to their martyrdom is possibly they were caught unawares. They underestimated pandemic. Breach in infection control practices did take place. There were lack of testing facility from December onwards globally. There was shortage of PPE, and all ages they didn't turn at equal. And that is not the scenario now. And we are prepared. We know it is a pandemic. PPE is available. We know the age group, and we are very well prepared. Now, this has been an influenza story where Spain was the first whistleblower in 1917 when they said that they have a flu-like illness, though it was there in UK and US, and almost everything, be it closing of schools, taking care of ourselves, mask and morbidity and mortality was there. And history repeats itself. So Prime Minister of UK, David Lloyd George, in 1918, suffered from Spanish flu, was admitted for 2 months. Boris Johnson, Prime Minister now, was in ICU for 4 days, ward stay in 10 days. So history repeats, and we need to be very, very careful of all the lessons learned. So there is so much of panic and so much of information which is there. But there are good news, and I think that good news needs to travel equally faster. One good news is India has the best recovery rate. 58.2% of people have recovered, and more so, almost 75% of the rest of the people would be doing it in another week's time. So that's very positive, and I think that is what we need to also, rather than creating panic, we need to keep disseminating that information. Another good news is 30.4 lakh population, and that is where lowest per lakh death. So there is this information that if you get COVID and it automatically leads to death, that's not the news. The US has 671, Germany had 583, India has 30.4 lakh. So there is huge positivity. And we might say that many of the deaths are not recorded. Mortality and death cannot be escaped. So you may escape influenza-like illness, but that's not how it is. Now, mortality and fatality of this is extremely, extremely low in comparison to any other pandemic which has happened for the last 100 years. So that's again a very, very positive. So that's the worldwide 11.4 for India, and the fatality is 2.8. So we need not panic. The infection fatality rate is also lowest, that's close to 0.8. So that is where we need to, all of us needs to hold our hands together and say that yes, we need to be careful, but we need to start. Now, there are serious concerns, no doubt, but prevention is the best medicine. And this is what has been taught to us since our childhood days. And even the health minister says 80% of the cases are asymptomatic. So why is there a panic? Why there isn't a positive information? When 80% of the Indian population who got infected did not have symptoms, they recovered so well, and they are recovering so well, then I think there is some extra information transfer which we need to do. Now, with respect to age, we need to be careful. I am not saying that we need not be careful, but we need to also start. So with respect to age, if you see Italy, China, Spain, the people who were 65 and above did have a high degree of mortality. Now, Italy had 18% of geriatric population. Spain has 14% of geriatric population. India has 3.4% of geriatric population. So that is how we have a huge demographic dividend, and we have done well. Now, another aspect which we need to take care is comorbidity. If you have any other illnesses, so huge attention is given to chronic respiratory disease. But those who have cardiac disease, diabetes also needs to be careful. So it's not that you need to just get started, but we take all preventive mechanisms which are there in place and also be extremely, extremely careful. Now, all those who have cardiac diabetes and then respiratory symptoms and hypertension with and cancer needs to be careful. Now, there is this guidelines from WHO, CDC, Ministry of Health that you need to wear mask. If everybody in the country wears mask, the infection reduces by 3% per day. So if I wear, it won't get reduced just by 3%. If everybody, all Indians participate, then I think we have won the battle. So for healthcare worker, the mask is like this, and everybody need not wear because the difficulty in these areas as in a common public, which to wear these masks would be very high, at least N95. For public, there needs to be a double layer cloth mask. It has to have a copper wire so that it fits in properly. It can be washed and dried. And so everybody needs to have 3 to 4 cloth masks so that they can rotate. They need not wear the same mask. If they reuse the same mask, it gets wet and the integrity of the mask is no longer there and you are susceptible to get infection. So this is what we need to follow. Now, another important thing what we are seeing is hand sanitizer. There are millions and millions of varieties of hand sanitizers which have floated. And there are many methanol-based hand sanitizers which are also there. So best is, and I think this is what every industry should also practice so that we standard of care has been given. Chlorhexidine with ethyl alcohol or 1-propanol with +2 propanol, propanol with hydrogen peroxide is the best. And then some of the sanitizers also add emollients, which is aloe vera, glycerine, or best is mesotronium. So if we have these sanitizers at most of these places, when you rub your hands and the friction which leads to the destruction of viruses, if they are there in the hands, your hands are protected for, and they are not a mechanism for transmission of these agents for another 1 hour and 30 minutes to 1 hour and 50 minutes. So that's the gain which you get with all of this. Now, how does this disease spread? When you cough, there are these droplets, but fortunately, this is a big virus. So it is heavy and it immediately drops down. It remains in the air for very, very small time, that is 1.5 hours. And then if these droplets drop down on any of these surfaces, and you touch those surfaces and you touch your the facial portion, that is where the infection would spread. And this is where we need to be extremely careful. Now, many times it is asked that I have fever. So do I have COVID, or I'm not feeling well, or I have a body ache? Do I have COVID? Now, many times this signs and symptoms would be similar to flu-like illness, which you and I suffered 1.7 times annually, year after year. So please don't get worried because you have almost similar symptoms. Now, what do I do if I have fever? You need to have fever along with one more symptom, that is dry cough and shortness of breath or difficulty in breathing. And that is where you need to get alerted. If this persists for another 2 days or 3 days, you go and get yourself tested. Now, most of the illnesses, most of the symptoms, the treatment is symptomatic. So if you have fever, you take a paracetamol. If you have cough, you have to take antidepressants. So there is nothing as a mild to moderate illness which we need to do. So there is nothing to panic. Now, ICMR also has added 2 more signs, which are loss of smell and loss of taste. So you need to be careful regarding that. So how we need to prevent is we need to break the chain. Now, how do we break the chain? The virus can enter only through 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth, and period, nothing else. It can exit from 2 nostril and 1 mouth. And this is what you need to protect. And that is why we are saying wear mask and maintain social or physical distancing. Eyes, that is why you need to wash your hands so that you don't touch your eye, nose, and mouth. If those hands are dirty, you would be transmitting those viruses. The virus is coronavirus. The host is human, and this is what you need to protect. If you do that, you break the chain, and no longer there will be illnesses. So there are lots of myths, and I would like to address most of the myths which are there. Can shoes spread coronavirus? It is good practice when you come back home to remove shoes and then enter your house, but shoes have not been reported to spread coronavirus. It is also, there was some WhatsApp message which says that we have now found out it is a bacteria, it is not virus, and our all energy was towards treating it as a viral illness. It's not true, it's a myth, and this comes from World Health Organization. A lot of times it is also said that if you keep wearing mask, it leads to, because you exhale carbon dioxide, it will lead to carbon dioxide toxicity and less oxygen within your body. It is completely myth, and it is not right information. And even if you jog, they said that you will develop a jogger's lung, which also is untrue. So but you need to wear mask. For ages, surgeons have been wearing masks for long surgery, which goes on for 12 to 18 hours with mask donned, and nothing has happened. Then there are myths that alcohol kills coronavirus. Untrue. Thermal scanning is not good. Untrue if it is not calibrated. So if you're going to malls and restaurants and if they say 95.4 is your body temperature, you know that it is not true. So the instrument is not calibrated, but the procedure of thermal scanning to know your body temperature is appropriate. No drug license to treat. Yes, remdesivir and favipiravir has come in, and that is the drug controllers have, the DCGI has approved it. And that is the only drug, but is given for moderate to severe symptoms. So mild, nothing is there. Adding pepper kills virus, not true. Spraying bleach, because there are chambers which are there outside the offices that you spray, and then your clothes and most of the external surfaces get protected. Untrue. Don't do that practice. It could be harmful. Exposing yourself to sun at 25 degree helps, not true. Holding breath for 10 seconds, if you are able to hold it, that means you don't have corona. Completely untrue. So that practice, you can keep doing pranayam, but linking it to coronavirus or COVID-19 is not true. It is not present in hot areas. Now you know, mid of June, end of June, and the corona is still there. Ultraviolet kills rays. Ultraviolet AB is very harmful. C is only in the healthcare setting. So please don't adopt any of these mechanisms. Now, what happens, as Dr. Sandeep said, we had an unlock 1 and an unlock 2. And we think that everything is hunky-dory and we come out, especially in urban areas. So if there is a high density, the reporting is from CBDC, 1485 square meter of population, the cases increase is 485. And if it is 909 square meter population, the case is in a very limited proportion. So even if you are in an unlock 1, unlock 2, and there will be unlock 3, and there will be many unlockings, we need to keep in mind that physical distancing and all preventive measures are extremely important. Now, it is also good to look for standard operating protocols, but from a relevant sites. So Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is one site which will give you the best of information and an updated one. National Center for Disease Control is another. ICMR gives you all with respect to science and research, and mygov.in will give you another updated information. So there is unfortunately huge information transfer which happens through social media. Please restrict yourself and don't believe it to be true. Now, are there international success story? And the question is when this pandemic is going to end. So it has ended in few of the countries, but what did they do? So in New Zealand, they had a fantastic quarantine facility. They tested extensively. Anybody who broke the lockdown rules, there was heavy penalty. They really took care of their employees. There were no layoff. And this prime minister, who had a 2-year-old son, was a good mother and a good leader. So on a Facebook, she was live to answer all queries. There are many anxious moments, but then she addressed them and addressed joint press briefing. Now, in India, are there any success story? Because every time it is said that can we see an end to all disease? So they have also flattened the curve. What did they do? The public participation, and you can link it to literacy, but the public participation, community detection, isolation, empowerment of women was superb. They have a Kutumbashri and they have Asha workers, and then they were fantastic whistleblowers, and they huge cooperation, and there was an intensive surveillance. What was the surveillance? Now, what they did is they whenever a person who became positive, they drew a map of his travel so that people need to understand whether they were present, and they self-declare, yes, they were there, and isolate or quarantine themselves. So this was an Italian tourist who took the flight, came to Delhi, came to Trivandrum, was picked up by the driver at this particular time. He went to the resort, and then he went to the money exchange center, restaurants, lunch at this all time stamped. And then he went to DJ party and various other places, and then he became positive. But then his whole story is there on the Ministry of Family Welfare website and in social media. And every individual waits for this. And then he self-declared, yes, he was also present at the lunchtime during that particular moment, and I need to quarantine myself. And that is how the participation increased. So a lot of times, a lot of questions are asked, can we start? So I think the confidence for all of you should come from healthcare. Healthcare has already started. Like in our institute, we are already working since 20th of April. So our outpatient, emergency, inpatient, isolation, every area is, and we are doing regular surgery, every area is functional. But we need to give special attention for those where we take high risk cases, and there are immunosuppressant patients like oncology, bone marrow transplant, obs and gynae, and where the procedures are done, where aerosol gets generated. So please take that confidence from healthcare that they can start. They are doing normal work. Every healthcare worker, the doctor and the nurse, is going every day and treating these patients, but they are protecting themselves. That's important. Let's come back to the tourism and hospitality, and this is where we need to mark ourselves. Air travels guidelines have already been issued for air passengers and crew. They need to, from origin to airports, what we need to do: social distancing, minimal touch, everything being digital. Take care of vulnerable patients who are elderly, above 65, pregnant ladies. They need to have Arogya Setu downloaded. The baggage limitation is there, and they need to wait check-in. And so this change in the behavior is what is would be helpful and would go a long way in prevention. So you need to download your baggage tag and identification number, wear mask, all take authorized taxi people. You need to, if you don't have a tag, you need to print it on a thick piece of paper. Everything has been so meticulously, Ministry of Tourism has so meticulously drafted. And I took the flight, and I know that it is so meticulously executed, and it is superb to see that behavioral change which is happening at the airport. So your reporting times are defined, you need to take precautions, Arogya Setu needs to be downloaded. Now, what you don't need to do is reach late, not travel if you're in the containment zone, and that's comes from the Arogya Setu. And if your area is blocked, then you know that it is either a containment red zone or any other zone. You need not travel, should not travel if you are tested positive. So I think that kind of conscious behavior change and self-declaration during this pandemic time would be extremely critical. You need to give instructions that if any of the standard operating protocol is broken, they will be liable to penal actions. But the declaration which needs to come from each passenger that you need not reside in a containment zone. If you are, don't travel. You are not suffering for fever, cough, and respiratory distress. You are not under quarantine. You are not tested positive, and shall make available his or her contact detail in case any important information which needs to be transferred. So the instructions is about the boarding pass and your declaration, which is very, very well laid down, and every passenger needs to comply with it. At the airport, you need to don your mask, appropriate mask, appropriate wearing. And this was also fantastically sent in one of those information that the way we are wearing masks, now I know why condoms have not worked for so long. We need to wear mask properly, and we need to cover the nose, the two nostril and mouth completely. And it also needs to be fixed. The fit test needs to be also done. So, and that is why it is so critical, and that is why we said that 3% of infection per day will stop. Documents, an e-document needs to be there. Temperature should be displayed, Aarogya Setu at the airport. Identity card, you need to have an electronic receipt. You need to be there on the designated areas, the squares. Avoid baggage trolley, baggage drop at least 60 minutes before departure. This is all been done so well and communicated so well at the airport. During the time of security check-in, arrangements needs to be done at the pre-embarkation security screening. Passengers need to follow those directions. One hand luggage is only allowed, and that we need to sort of also adhere, and we need to cooperate with the security staff at all junctures. Security at the holding area, they need to mark the chairs not for use. And if we can maintain physical distancing, it would be appropriate. Maintain hygiene through appropriate sanitization, but it would be also very important if we can dispose all biohazardous or hazardous material in appropriate bags. And all waste, according to the central pollution goes in yellow bins, and that would be important. So while boarding, be attentive to various communication, keep wearing mask. It needs to be a 3-layered surgical mask with sanitizer. You need to be attentive and keep displaying your boarding information. Inside the aircraft, very, very careful, because you have to, don't rush, maintain physical distancing, no queuing at the toilet side, no on-board sale is permitted right now. Avoid non-essential movements, no meal, keep the water bottles, which is also the external surfaces clean. And if the passenger needs, just in case if they are uncomfortable, please reach out to the crew. From the destination, the disembarkation would be sequential, and this is what is not being complied with. Right now, again, we think that it is normal, and we rush to disembark, and rest of all facilities have been fantastically executed and done. Trolleys will be very, very sparingly used. You need to wait in segregated areas for your baggages, and you need not be allowed out of the transit areas. When you reach your destination, take only authorized taxi. And I was so glad to see that the sanitization is done when the taxi comes in, and then there is a division between the driver and when you board the taxi, and they also adhere to wearing mask and giving hand sanitizer before you embark into your destination. Follow social distancing and hygiene. So general points, cabin crew would be wearing PPE. The mats and the carpets which are soaked with bleach, they are placed and you can disinfect. counters to be mounted with a glass if it is not, because that's the safe, you need to maintain that social distancing. Disinfect surface and touch points every 30 minutes, and passengers will be subject to quarantine as per state and union territory directive. So every state has given their own directive. Like in Karnataka and Kerala, they have a 14-day quarantine. It could be a home quarantine, but there is this information which comes in from the mayor, from the police station, and from the director health services, which keeps informing you that you need to adhere to some of these precautions during home quarantine. With respect to bus operations, it is almost very, very similar. There are two kinds of buses, have two doors, rear door for boarding, front door for lighting, have CCTV camera, because you are always, you can notice whether everybody has been adhering to the norms. Disinfect buses, which is again, because there are very many high-tech surfaces within the buses. Mark those seats which cannot be taken, and avoid air conditioning as much as possible. If you are having to have the air conditioning on, have it at 23, 24 degrees centigrade. And this is how you need to have your sitting arrangements so that appropriate distancing is maintained. The bus driver needs to sort of isolate himself, and that would be appropriate. Ticketing and counter, minimum exchange of cash should be there. It's only because the transmission of viruses through hands to various surfaces need not happen. And that's why if we can go digital in many ways, that would be appropriate. Train operations, Dr. Sandeep covered. Booking of the tickets on arrival of the station, on boarding, many of the things have already been told. At least 90 minutes in advance, you need to come in, and you need to be asymptomatic, maintain distancing, and please download Arogya Setu. And also when you get to your final destination, adhere to that state and union territories protocols. With respect to hospitality operations, I'm going to cover what has been already laid down by Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. This has been released in June, a fantastic document. Everything is explained properly. Today morning, I came across this news item, and I was very glad to see, and Madam Barar also reiterated to that fact, where people are visiting restaurants, but the tagline is, we have to be careful, but we need to start. So what they did when this lady, who is a model, who visited along with the family and friends, they basically adhered to some of the precautions which was mentioned. And what are those? Tables and chairs were sanitized, and she reconfirmed to the restaurant where she was booking. She was provided a basket with a hand and phone sanitizer. So it's so encouraging to see that the practices have been adopted by everybody. Paper napkins and paper envelope was given, because when you eat, you need to keep your mask safe, and you need not touch the interior portion of the mask, because that would be dirty, and you keep that safe in the paper envelope. There was a QR code on the table for ordering the menu. There was a disposable cutlery which was given. Plates and glass, they came in cover and were sanitized. So if you are following those precautions, and there is no way that we can have an unlock 3 and unlock 4 and get started with more and more work. Every time this questioning is asked, what about this air conditioning? Because most of the hotels, travel tourism industry would be air conditioned. The guidelines comes from PWD, Government of India. We can have air conditioning, and the temperature which we need to maintain is 24 to 30 degrees. And disinfect filters as and when it is required. And it would be good to maintain relative humidity of 40 to 60% and have fresh air. So air conditioning could be on, and you need to maintain relevant temperatures. Now, Central Pollution Control Board has also given guidelines with respect to waste management. Everything gets into yellow bins, and other things which are plastic gets into a red bin. But I do recognize the fact that in hotel industry, it would be a dry and wet waste. So it would follow almost similar guidelines which were there earlier. So what happens to the linen, and what happens if I come to the office and then I go back home? Am I safe, and do my family members or any behavior change needs to be done? When I come back home, I need to wash my linen at 60 to 90 degrees centigrade with the laundry and detergent. The machine washing, if it is not possible, then you need to soak it in the bleach with a contact time of 30 minutes, and that would be good enough. So there is absolutely nothing to worry and panic, and that need to be dried in full sunlight. And that this has been proven by WHO and CDC, and it has been very, very effective. What are the general preventive measures which we need to take? It has already been said. We need to wash hands, we need to dispose our napkins, maintain distancing. Soap and water is good enough. Don't keep touching your faces. If you touch, again, wash your hands, and namaste is good enough. But all those who are above 65 with comorbidities really need to take care, and best possible to stay at home during this particular time. These are some of the mandatory golden rules, and that needs to be adhered. So there are many information which has come from the Ministry of Tourism, and I was so surprised and very encouraged to see that most of the information which as a preventive measure has already been captured and has been circulated so very well, and has been built or developed so very well. So for food packaging, there is few information which is important. This virus sticks on the copper for 4 hours. It stays on aluminum for 2 to 8 hours. On cardboard for 24 hours. Stainless steel 2 to 3 days. Plastic 2 to 3 days. Wood 4 days. And 5 days on metals and ceramic and paper. So if you are using any of it, where you think that there is an external surface, there is a predominance of the virus being stuck to these surfaces, we need to clean these surfaces more frequently, and we need to dispose them as and when it is required, because these surfaces would have those viruses which can get transmitted. So what we need to do, we need to conduct awareness training, encourage employers to come forward if there are any signs and symptoms. All touch points needs to be cleaned more frequently. They need to be aware and sensitive, initiate screening of all personnel, and no COVID positive patient should be allowed, or anybody who has symptoms. So self-declaration would be the key for those who are in offices and those who will be attending to any of these, the guests who would be attending to tourism. So there are many advisories which have come in from Ministry of Tourism for guests at the hotel, and advisory for the hotel people. There are advisory for hotel staff. There is how do you handle a COVID positive patient? You need to alert the hospital, and you need to have some kind of an association with the nearby hospital, so that if there are any signs and symptoms, or if anybody falls sick, you need to reach out to them. So washing hands again is is the most critical, and alcohol-based sanitizer would be the most appropriate. When you wash hands, 20 seconds of washing every time with all 6 steps, where you clean your palms, the back end of the palms, and interdigital clips, the thumbs, and the nails would be, nail beds would be extremely important. There will be face cover and clean protective clothing. Strict implementation, no jewelry, watches should be there for any of the office members, and gloves to be worn if you are using any ready-to-eat food. Social distancing, as already said, needs to be adhered. Work from home whenever it is possible. Temperature checks, marking, installation of partitions as mentioned. Specific guidelines of HACCP, ISO, and FSSAI needs to be complied with, and this have already been covered. If you're cleaning rooms, the guest will have an option to come out. The housekeeping staff must wear all PPE that would be covering the covering of the face, and washing your hands, and gloves when you take care of any of the materials which are there in the room. After checking out, clean linen and towels to be provided. Linen cleaning would be as mentioned, and garbage would be in dry, wet, glass, and biodegradable. And this would be as per CPCB guidelines, and this has not changed. Only the biohazardous guidelines is what it has changed. All glassware to be cleaned with hot water and lemon. FSSAI guidelines for open beverage needs to be practiced, and we need to avoid contact as much as possible. Only bottled water, and this is most of it is already been covered. Buffet to be avoided. Only cooked food to be served. So there are cleaning protocols which are already there in the guidelines. If you get any food, it needs to be washed, and good running water wash is good enough. And that is what is being mentioned in the Licensing and Registration of Food Business Regulation Act. Cleaning sanitation is important. The treating with very hot, clean, potable water for at least 2 minutes is good enough. And you need to keep sanitizing any of the surfaces which would be where the external guest will occupy. So hypochlorite solution, which is a bleach solution, which is good enough. Quaternary ammonium compounds are good enough. 70% alcohol-based hand sanitizer is good enough. And I think this is what we need to be extremely careful with and use. Any high-touch surfaces, you need to be very vigilant. Do not touch and clean your hands appropriately. When you go back to those areas of food and canteen, maintain adequate distancing. Working at the office, this will never be allowed at this particular juncture. The new normal is alternate sitting and maintaining those distances, and disinfect any high-touch surfaces. Your laptops and desktops fall into that category. Meeting like this, what we are having, as long as this pandemic gets over, we need to sort of, this would be the new normal, which would be important. Any entry of any vendors needs to be also taken care of. Restroom needs to be disinfected appropriately. There needs to be, while entering, don't use those high-touch surfaces, and use it either the shoulder or the foot to open or to close the doors, and hygiene would be important. Use staircase as much as possible, elevators, maintain distancing, and wear gloves or use any other foreign material, but not your bare hands, which is important. So if there is a COVID positive patient, they need to be identified, they need to declare, and they need to go home. And the new recommendation is that they need to be free of symptoms for at least 3 days. Earlier, there was a recommendation that you need to have 2 tests 24-hour apart, then only you could come back home. That recommendation has changed. If you are symptom free for 3 days is good enough, and then you can come back and join duty. Or at least 7 days have passed since the symptoms first appeared. So these are the 2 change in guidelines, which I thought it would be important to share with all of you. And if they are showing any symptoms, if there is a COVID positive patient, and if he has interacted with any of your members where the interaction time was more than 15 minutes, they are primary contact, they are direct contact, they need to watch for their symptoms, and it would be best to quarantine themselves. All secondary and direct contacts need not quarantine, and that is again a change in guidelines which is there. My last slide is, it is extremely important at this particular juncture to maintain well-being. So please stay connected by any mechanism. Have some kind of an independent me time with you. Have a me time so that you all share, and there is those moments of anxiety and depressions are taken care of. Adopt any mechanism. It could be meditation, yoga, exercise. Do take care of yourself. There is a lot of charity, also charity work which you can do. But please avoid WhatsApp and fake news. That is extremely, extremely harmful, and look out for good standard operating protocols from registered website. And please stay safe and take care of yourself. It is extremely important to get started to our new normal life, but adopt preventive mechanism, be careful, and the life would be coming back to normalcy. And thank you, Madam Barar and Ministry of Tourism for giving us this opportunity. Over to you, Madam. Thank you very much.
That was extensive, Dr. Sanjeev. Paridhi or Sandeep, would you like to talk before we ask the questions that have been coming in?
Sorry, just I would like to summarize what Dr. Sanjeev Singh has already highlighted in an extensive way. The tagline of this talk is that be careful, but we need to start. The purpose is that the processes in country has already started, and the globally also the processes have started to restart our all things. So, sir, you dedicated your talk on a frontline workers because we lost a lot of frontline workers because of various reasons. The unawareness was there, and they have not followed the preventive measures also. But you have highlighted very clearly that there are a lot of positive news are also there. The positive news is that 58.2% is the recovery rate. We normally enter into an infodemic process now. There is a word known as infodemic. Infodemic means flood of information is coming over. And you have highlighted at the last in your mental and well-being slide also that stop avoiding these WhatsApp messages and fake news. If you see country in India, if globally we have the lowest death rate, 30.4 per lakh population. That is another positive news which we have. You have highlighted that prevention is the best medicine, and almost 80% of cases, COVID-19 cases, are asymptomatic. So we don't need to worry too much. Unnecessarily, there is no need to create a panic. The main thing is that we have to, if we wear the mask, it reduces the infection spread rate by 3% per day. So mask wearing is highly important. And how the disease spread? There are entry portals and there are exit portals. There are 3 entry portals and there are only 2 exit portals only. If we know the phenomena of the disease very clearly, then we can apply the request, the preventive measures accordingly. You have highlighted the success story of New Zealand. The country has already worked extensively and they have curtailed the infection. And in India, how the Kerala has flattened the curve. And the reason was that they were having a very systematic command approaches there, participatory approaches there, and where the population has participated in an extensive way. And that's how the search capacity was very high, and they have piloted, they have having a wonderful quality testing mechanisms also they have applied. If you remember, the first 3 cases in India, it started from Kerala. And today, the Kerala has the lowest number of cases also. So how the Kerala has worked out, we should relook into the model. I request all the people to go through into this. And the thing is that the facilities have already started opening up, but special attentions are needed for some patients having the immunosuppression diseases or dealing with the aerosol generating procedures. Then a lot of Ministry of Tourism has already highlighted the guidelines. They have come up with a wonderful guidelines about air travel guidelines have come over from origin to airport. What are the various preventive measures at the airport, at security level, then bus operations, train operations, hospitality operations, air conditioning. We have to keep a temperature of 24 degree to 30 degree for normal. Then biomedical waste management guidelines have already come over. Then personal hygiene of food handlers, food packaging, advisory for hotels, hotel staff, guests, then cleaning protocols, then dining, then cleaning and sanitation, entry and exit point, food at canteen, working at office, meetings at rooms. Earlier, we were having the meetings at home. Now we have the virtual meetings. The processes are there. Only thing is the change has happened with the precautions. Recommending protocols for COVID-19 positive employee in your, if there is an employee COVID-19 positive, no need to panic, but there are certain procedures which we have to follow. Then last is we have to keep our mental health appropriate, and well-being is utmost important for all of us while working in an office or while going back in a family also. We should be staying connected with each other. We should have me time. We should have we time. We should enter into meditation, yoga, avoid WhatsApp and fake news, and do charities if you people want to do. This is an appropriate moment to do that. So Tourism Ministry has opened up a lot of gates for the thing is the day by day as the unlocking processes have started, the Government of India, the Tourism Ministry has already shared a lot of guidelines how to open the facilities and how to run the businesses also for the hotel industry also. So this is the positive news, and I think there are a lot of queries and questions. Before the questions would come over, I would hand it over to my my another junior colleague, Dr. Paridhi Modi. She is making a presentation on behalf of Public Health Foundation of India with a smiling face and with a spread. You can see the smile on our face. The thing is that we are all well connected. We are all working for a positive mode only. Let us join hands together. Over to Dr. Paridhi. Dr. Paridhi, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So as Sanjeev sir and Sandeep sir has already said that we need to open up, and tourism is a big part of the economy. They are a big driver for jobs, for growth, and they contribute to the nation's economy as well. So I came across a statistic yesterday on that there were 110 million jobs directly that were responsible from the tourism industry, and out of that 55% of the employees are women. But the issue is all these women are actually they are hired in the informal sector. They're all casual employees. They are not at a position or a higher level of position where they actually influence the industry. They are at the short end of the stick because they have long working hours. They're working in the hospitality sectors. They're working as housekeeping. They're working as waitresses. They have to face low wages. There's a lack of social protection. There's gender discrimination. And especially now in the COVID times, there is a sense, there is heightened fear that whether they're going to be safe, whether whether they're going to bring the disease along with them to their family. So the issue with when we talk about COVID-19 from a woman's perspective, I feel women need to be put into the focus. Like women-based entrepreneurs should be put in the focus because they can help their own women to come up. They can be helped. Also, we need to create a dialogue with the tourism industry, with the hospitality sector, that these women are more vulnerable to job losses, to job cuts, to wage losses. So creating a dialogue with them, creating a sense of security for them can help them in getting that belief that yes, their job is secure and they can be a more productive member for the hospitality sector. Sorry. And as Dr. Sanjeev also said, he gave the example of New Zealand and of how a woman leader, Jacinda Ardern, did a brilliant job of helping New Zealand cope with the virus. And I think that is due to, like, there are various other examples like Germany, Iceland, Taiwan. They all have women leaders and they have all done brilliantly in combating the virus. So I believe that comes down to being a woman leader, because women leaders tend to put health and they tend to put health laws, health policy. They tend to push that. And the basic thing they found out in when they did a research on this, that why women leaders are better at combating this, they found out that they were empathetic. They had they showed signs of resilience. They were pragmatic. They had benevolent. So these all things are very inherent in a woman, and a woman tends to project this much better. Rest, I would like to say that yes, there is a lot of fear in for women facing in the restaurant business and the hospitality. And as Dr. Sanjeev already said, we need to follow basic precautions, basic personal hygiene like hand washing, wearing your PPE, physical distancing, self-monitoring, following respiratory etiquettes. These are all very important. And just by following this, by listening to the correct information sources, you can protect yourself. You will be okay. You can work. It is all going to be fine. The other thing is women travelers. I know there's a lot of fear that going to a new country, how are we going to face all of this? How is the country safe enough to travel? Now that we're opening up the air travels, the railway travels, please, again, just follow basic safety procedures. and just listen to the avoid listening to WhatsApp messages and the fake myths that are regarding the COVID situation. Following the basic procedures, we have been doing this. We did it in the Spanish flu. We were doing it today as well. The procedure is the same, and it will help just by following the simple rules, the simple steps. You're protecting yourself, and that is enough. You don't have to travel like go to various places at one go. Start small. Start going to restaurants, start going to places nearby your hometown or your place. Take adequate precautions, and as the things improve, I'm sure even the hotels and the restaurants are taking the precautions for your safety. Even they want your businesses, to be honest. So be safe, take care, take all the precautions, and everything should be all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Dr. Sandeep or Sanjeev, whoever wants to take the questions, because we're actually out of time already, but we must take some of the questions and probably do another session after a few weeks, because I think the message coming loud and clear, viewers, is no need to panic, be prepared, be careful, but no need to panic. Now, some of the very targeted questions, whoever may want to take it. How to disinfect the interiors of a car, because traveling in a public vehicle becomes imperative. So people are getting concerned that what should be done. Should there be a disinfectant sprayed? How to go about it?
So I think just a good sodium hypochlorite solution as a spray is good enough. And if alcohol, 60 to 70% of isopropyl alcohol, if it is used as a spray, that is good enough. So what are the high touch surfaces on a car is when you open up the door. So that needs to be disinfected, and where you are sitting. Other than that, I think there is absolutely nothing to panic. There is this question about air conditioning. So if it could be switched off, it would be best, just because it works on a recirculation air. So you can open that window, and that would be a good ventilation. I was not able to show that slide, but a good door and a good ventilation, good window and a good open door gives you a 37 air changes, and the requirement for COVID is 6 to 12. So air conditioning, if it could be avoided, it would be good, but disinfecting with sodium hypochlorite and alcohol is good enough.
Okay. People have also asked how to disinfect bakery and poultry items, since a lot of them are in restaurant business, and also for households. People want to know, is there a specific way that they could disinfect bakery items?
So if they all come in a plastic cover, so that needs to be washed as a soap, and running water is good enough. Why? Because this virus has a lipid envelope, and soap kills that lipid envelope. So that is good enough. For all other things, a good running water is good enough, because then the virus doesn't stick, and then a good running water flow helps the virus to be drained.
Okay. There's another question on newspapers, that should you need to disinfect them, and how to do that?
So that's a difficult one. Avoid newspaper as much as possible. If you cannot, so you need to read newspaper in a particular area, and then wash your hands before reading, wash your hands after reading, and the area where you have spread the newspaper, disinfect that surface, because you never know from which all location these newspapers have come in.
So one of the takeaways people are asking who are involved in tourism is that looking at the urban areas having more issues, would it be better for India then to pitch itself as the open spaces, the nature parks or the open spaces, or the green places for opening up first?
Absolutely. But even for urban area, there is absolutely nothing to panic if we can have a segregation of population to come in. Because if you open up, everybody comes in at a particular time, it's going to be difficult. But definitely the nature and the other landscapes would be important.
So the viewer is asking that in a car, do you need to keep wearing a mask even while driving, if you're the only solo rider?
Yeah, no. Because the virus has to come in for your portal of entry, which is nose and mouth. So you need not.
Okay. And for disinfecting vegetables and fruits?
So a good running water wash is good enough.
Okay. So no soap is required, you're suggesting.
No soap is required.
Okay. So, Dr. Sanjeev, I think one of the important learnings for everybody today is to avoid WhatsApp and unverified sources of news items. Does the PHFI also come out of on its own website with more credible information?
Yeah, ma'am, we have on our homepage itself, we have all the information related to the COVID-19. If you go to the PHFI website, www.phfi.org, we have put it up first time in the country. We have released the guidelines how to open up the hospitals in the post-lockdown also, in which Dr. Sanjeev Kumar sir was also one of the lead in that. And we have also released the guidelines for the preventive measures for the police workers also. There are so many things. If you can go to the PHFI website, you can see multiple things on the COVID-19 activities which we are doing.
So viewers, I must mention again that the Public Health Foundation of India, which is headquartered in Gurgaon as we used to know it earlier, is a not-for-profit public-private partnership initiative which is working towards a healthier India. So you can't get a more credible source than that, because that's what they are doing. And I like their motto. They said, knowledge to action.
Yes.
I think that's the important message takeaway. There are many other specific questions which is hard for us to take up in one webinar, but visit their website, visit, as Dr. said, the MyGov platform, visit our website, visit the ICMR. So visit the credible websites and do not fall for information on WhatsApps. The government is sending out enough information on its own website. So please follow that. And if there is a WhatsApp going around, I would say don't even forward it, because you don't know the veracity of it. So I think we need to be very responsible. We all need to join hands. And as PHFI is already doing, it's a public-private partnership. And battling the COVID is a joint initiative of all of us. And we must beat it. India as a country, as Dr. Saab already said, is battling it fairly well. The rate per population, if we see, is good, yet no reason for us to go lax. We must continue to follow the guidelines, must continue to follow the safeguards, but do not fear, do not panic. Just be informed and be correctly informed. I think that's an important message from all three of you. And I'm sure the benefit has passed on to the industry, to the viewers, to the travelers. And one last question I shall take before announcing that next Saturday, what are we bringing to the viewers? But one last question was asked by a traveler, a future traveler, that when is it safe for her to travel with young children?
So very interestingly, young children and pediatric age group till 18, they are not showing signs of COVID. So there is something which is inherent. The God has been very, very kind to them. And they are showing something which is inherent, which is protective. So it could be a good T-cell humoral immunity. It could be because of thymus, or it could be just God has been kind to them. So it best if you can avoid, but during this time. Otherwise, just following these measures of physical distancing, masks, surface disinfection, and your regular hand hygiene is good enough.
Doctor, I have also a question that how useful is the Kada and the Indian way of life? And how should we be looking at these things as positive interventions?
I am a doctor of modern medicine, so I would say I don't know first of all, but having been stayed in Kerala, which has this alternate system of medicine which is practiced so religiously and so very well, I know for sure that they are very, very effective. They don't do harm. And so if you have a very relevant source and if it has been prepared well, I am sure it boosts immunity, and it should surely be taken.
Great. So no harm in having some tulsi in your water, viewers. Just put some pepper, put some tulsi, put some honey. It's fun. It's an interesting drink. And so it's also, I think it's warm, so it makes you feel good. So all those takeaways. Well, we're running, as always, out of time, but this has been a fantastic presentation. And our thanks from the Ministry of Tourism, and thanks, I'm sure, from all the viewers, for all three of you to have taken out the time for spending this Saturday morning with us on educating us on very, very critical points as we go ahead and start traveling back again. I will request another session with you, maybe 4 or 5 or maybe 6 weeks down the line, as we've beaten COVID even more. And in the meantime, viewers, if you have any questions, keep sending them to us, because opening up in a safe ecosystem and environment is crucial as a country, not only from the tourism perspective, but even otherwise. So let's join hands and make sure that we remain healthy and Incredible India remains incredible in the beating of the COVID. So thanks once again. And viewers, next week, because we've been doing a good job as a country and beating COVID, therefore time for all of us to keep going back to workplaces, the physical ones. And because the lockdowns are easing everywhere, it's hard for all of you to keep joining us, we understand, on weekdays. And we are going to therefore bring you live our next webinar only on the next Saturday, the 4th of July. It is interestingly also the UN Day for Cooperation. And today, when we are talking of cooperation of public, private, and everybody getting together, there couldn't be a better way to celebrate. And we are going to bring you a dedicated session on women and women motorcycle drivers, women who drove all the way from Telangana to Burma and have driven in many other parts of India on motorcycles. So these are trips done by the women, for the women, but the men must watch it. So 4th of July, 11 a.m. is when you tune back for a live session with us. In the meantime, all the 39 webinars shall be available and are already available as a repository on the Ministry of Tourism's website. Please visit them. Please join hands in watching the Incredible India and spread the word for देखो अपना देश, तो सिर्फ देखिए ही मत, बाकियों को भी दिखाइए अपना सुंदर अतुल्य भारत। जुड़े रहिए, बने रहिए हमारे साथ। 4 जुलाई 11 बजे हम आपको फिर मिलेंगे लाइव सेशन में। आज हमारे साथ ज्वाइन करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। सतर्क रहिए, स्वस्थ रहिए। नमस्कार।
Thank you.